morning, I'm Mimi Prelo.
And I'm Gail Hightower.
Gail and I are co-chairing River Oaks Garden Club's annual Azalea Trail this year, and we're crossing the bridge to the Westcott entrance of Bio Bend, where we're going to take you on a tour to give you an idea of what you can see when you come to Bio Bend during Azalea Trail. We have many stops along the trail, but we decided we wanted to show you Bio Bend because it's really been the cornerstone of our trail for 80 years.
Azalea Trail has marked the beginning of spring in the Houston area. It's always been held the first weekend in March, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11 to 5. The ribbon cutting is on Friday at 10:30, that first weekend in March, and it's actually here at Bio Bend at the Lazy Lane entrance. This is Stephanie Fox. Stephanie is our Bio Bend Garden Chairman for the River Oaks Garden Club. Tell us a little bit about this garden.
Welcome to Cleo Garden. This is one of the first gardens that Miss Ima planted and designed in a parterre design.
What does that mean? What is a parterre design?
Parterre was a formal garden design that originated in 16th century France. It's geometric and symmetrical. Here we planted boxwood, it's outlined in boxwood and filled in with azaleas and annuals.
So tell us a little bit about the statue.
Cleo is the muse of history, and throughout the gardens you'll see many sculpture that Miss Ima collected and placed in certain parts of the garden. Miss Hogg loved history, she loved music and architecture, and throughout the gardens you'll see sculptures that reflect different mythological characters and muses.
I noticed the provisionals are back here working. What do you all do to get the gardens ready for Azalea Trail?
Our new members, who are the provisionals, work in the gardens for 2 years at Bayou Bend. We start in September and work through May. We meet every Monday and we weed, we plant the annuals, we deadhead flowers. It takes a long time to prepare for Azalea Trail, so we start in September as we work in the gardens, and then we really do a lot of work right 2 weeks prior to Azalea Trail. So our provisionals are really busy working and making everything really beautiful for Azalea Trail.
And why are you deadhead? I mean, that means pulling the flowers off, right?
No, what it means is you're just pinching the tops of the flowers off so that we'll have more blooms for Azalea Trail.
So even if they're blooming, you're pinching them, you're taking them off?
We are, and I know that's hard to imagine that we would do that, but I know it's, but the provisionals, we deadhead because it promotes new growth and promotes more flowers.
And so how long between the time that you deadhead and the time that the flowers come back out? I mean, is it,
Well, we're going to be deadheading these probably Monday, and Azalea Trail is 2 weeks from today.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Stephanie.
Y'all have a great day.
Thanks. This is Bart Rector. Bart is the curator of the gardens here at Bio Bend. And Bart, what can you tell us about this garden?
Well, this is a Diana garden. This is the north side of the house, and the central focus of the north side of the house is the Diana garden. It's named after the statue, Diana, goddess of the hunt, which was brought here in 1940 from Italy. It's an exact replica from a statue in the Vatican.
So is this the backyard?
Okay, so this is often thought to be the back side of the house, which is actually Miss Hogg built it to help us learn more about American history and the way they built homes as George Washington built his home, Mount Vernon, with a carriage side and river side. So Diana, this is the river side of the house, and the opposite side would be the carriage side.
Okay.
This is the Euterpe Garden east of the Diana Garden, which we just left.
Well, Bart, there's some huge trees in here. Is there anything notable about these?
It's a good question, because Miss Hogg loved trees so much that when she built the home, no tree 10 inches in caliper or larger was cut down. And because of that, Bio Bend has 7 champion trees to Harris County on property. This sycamore is one of them. And then throughout the rest of the remainder of the garden are 6 more very large trees of their kind to Harris County.
Is that what designates a champion tree? Is the size of the tree?
Correct. So good. So you would measure the width of the circumference of the trunk, and the height, and then the canopy of the leaves and the limbs. So this is the Euterpe statue. This is the 3rd of the statues that we've been looking at so far this morning. And she's the muse of music. Miss Hogg picked her to represent the future. Miss Hogg felt that music played an important role in our futures. And we just left the Diana, and which is the muse of the present, or the muse of food, which represents present. And then Cleo is the muse of history, which is obviously the past. And so Miss Hogg picked the past, present, and future, doing this very specifically. Miss Hogg did things in her garden on purpose and with a lot of thought. Let's walk this way up to the Carla Garden.
Okay. Why is it called the Carla Garden?
During 1961, we had a Hurricane Carla.
Hurricane?
Yes, and so it took out a lot of trees, and instead of planting new trees, Miss Hogg built a small little garden to sit, and so she named it the Carla Garden.
So this is Carla.
This is the Carla Garden.
We can't help but notice the peacock.
Right,
He's
good.
awesome.
Correct. So Miss Hogg really wanted a more whimsical garden, something that would be fun. She built this garden with a carousel theme in mind, and then later purchased this antique carousel figure.
So it really wasn't on a carousel. It
Correct.
really is a seat.
This is it's actually a 2-seater, and so 2 little kids can sit on it and go in a carousel, and that's the design and the concept of this garden is to be a carousel. I feel bad walking in front of you.
Didn't this garden have a champion tree too?
It does. The small tree behind us is the largest 2-winged silverbell in Harris County. It's an understory tree that has white blooms in the late spring. And last but not least, in the Euterpe Garden is this group of azaleas. It's very important to Bio Bend and to Houston. This is believed to be the first planting of azaleas in Houston. Miss Hogg planted 7 azaleas originally, and the name of this azalea is Omurasaki.
See the color right there.
Yeah, it's a real pretty purple. They did so well the first year. Miss Hogg bought over 200 more the second year and planted them throughout the garden, and then planted more and more and more. And so that's why we have so many azaleas in our gardens, because of this grouping right here.
That did so well.
Right.
Hey, Gail. Hey, Mimi. This is Sherry Fossler. She is our Bio Bend docent and also a River Oaks Garden Club member. And I know, Sherry, you know a lot about Bio Bend. I'd love to hear some.
Well, I love Bio Bend, and I'd love to tell you a little bit about it. The house is situated on its original 14 acres. It's in the River Oaks subdivision, and it was built for the Hoggs in the 1920s. And the Hoggs were one of the ones that developed River Oaks, and they chose this site for their home, and it's at the bend in the bayou. That's why it's called Bayou Bend. And anyway, in the 1920s also, Miss Hogg got the idea to begin a collection of American furniture from the 17th, 18th, and early 19th centuries, because she had the idea that she wanted to give this collection to a museum and to bridge the gap between our American heritage that happened on the East Coast and Texas, which was still pretty much of a frontier in the 1920s. So she began in the 1920s doing this, and by the 1950s, the collection had grown to be one of the premier collections of American decorative arts in the whole entire country. And so she decided it was time to give her collection to a museum. She chose the Museum of Fine Arts and decided to offer her home too to house the collection. So from that time on, Bayou Bend has been open to the public and has been known as a premier museum.
Sherry, when people visit the houses that are on the trail, the flowers, you know, are so amazing. Are there flowers in Bayou Bend as well?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Miss Hogg asked the Garden Club to be sure that there are always cut flowers in her home, and so there are beautiful arrangements in the rooms. And so I hope that no one forgets to look for those beautiful arrangements.
So when is the house open?
The house is open every day except Monday, and it's closed in August.
Hi, Terry.
Hi, Mimi. Hi, Gail.
This is Terry Smith, and Terry is the current president of River Oaks Garden Club, and this garden brings back memories for me because it was the garden I worked in when I was a provisional.
Me too. This was my first garden, and it was actually the first garden landscaped at Bayou Bend in 1928, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful spot. If you look around, you can look back at this beautiful ironwork on the building and see the lyre and the scrolls, and then these Japanese boxwood reflect the scrolls, and the lyre you can see again repeated in the chairs, and that was all about Miss Ima's love of music. And she loved to sit in this garden. We have members that remember sitting on that porch with her and visiting with her about her plans for the garden, and it's a really special place.
Well, are the gardens, do they look the way they did when Miss Ima lived here?
They do, pretty much. We're a historical garden, so we really try to keep things just the way she would have had it. Something new that we did this year was we added these pansies. Miss Ima would have had seasonal planting all year except in the summer when she went to her summer home. And we had dwarf mondo grass in there for a long time, so that's something that we brought back. Miss Ima entrusted the gardens to us in 1961. And so ever since then, we've tried to care for them in just the way she would have cared for them herself. This room feels like a room. And it's flanked by camellias and azaleas, and they're varieties that you can't buy today. They were kinds that she planted. She brought the first azaleas here in 1935, and there are so many different varieties here. I think you guys are going to visit with Kay Rice in a minute.
Yes, we are.
And she can tell you more about the master plan and about the Bayou Bend Gardens Advisory that oversees that plan, and how we keep it the way Miss Ima really would have had it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Terry. Hi, Kay. Hey, how are you?
Fine.
This is Kay Rice, and Kay is the chairman of the Bayou Bend Garden Advisory Committee. And Kay, we were just talking with Terry over in the East Garden about Miss Ima's desire to have the gardens remain the same and the master plan. So would you tell us a little more about that?
Well, the master plan was first commissioned in 1994, and then the committee decided in 2007 it was time to review and update the plan. So a new plan was presented in 2010 with the intent that the gardens are to reflect the lifetime and vision of Ms. Hogg. The committee did approve the plan with the intent to maintain, preserve, and restore the gardens just as they were when she was living here in her home. And our plan consists of historical references to all the gardens. We have a record of all of the plants that she purchased, every bulb, camellia, azalea, even packet of seeds. And although we cannot find many of the plants that she did purchase and plant here in the gardens, we continue to look for them as of today.
Can you find them? Or
Yes, we do find them. Just recently we found a Camellia japonica in Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
And brought it back with us.
Hey again, ladies. How are you?
Good.
I just wanted to stop and point out that the paths you've been walking on today are granite gravel, but Miss Hogg originally had mulch paths and stone paths. And these are the last stones path that Miss Hogg walked on that's left at Bayou Bend. And
She put these down.
her gardener and her put these down. And if you notice, they're really close together. So if you were an older lady, you would take smaller steps. And so these steps are really nice and close, so she can get onto every step.
So when you're wandering around Bayou Bend, you actually have a part of Miss Ima here.
Correct. Yes, that's exactly the intention, is to keep as much of the garden as we can the same as if Miss Ima lived here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Butterfly Garden.
Oh, thank you, Bitsy. This is Bitsy Hale. Bitsy is one of the River Oaks Garden Club volunteers that works every Monday at the greenhouse. And we are in the butterfly garden. Tell us about this garden.
Well, this garden was created in 1940 and 1941. Ms. Ima had a vision of a parterre garden shaped like a butterfly. Well, the first garden, the outline of the parterre was, she called it Chinese grass. We call it mondo or monkey grass now. And the wings were composed of yellow and purple pansies. Well, in 1945, they came back in and put the boxwood as the parterre, and we have 4 different color azaleas growing here. Now, the problem has come up. They don't live forever. They have to be replaced. And some of the azaleas in the gardens overall, you cannot buy on the commercial market anymore. So what we've had to do on the surviving azaleas is take cuttings and propagate off of what is in the garden. And then we've had to locate some. We have some cuttings coming from a man who has the missing azaleas in his private garden. So he is taking cuttings for us, and we will grow azaleas from there to replace the ones that we lose.
How long does it take from when you take a cutting to when you can actually put it in the ground?
Probably 2 years. You know, we take the cuttings, move them up into different size pots, and when they get to 1 to 3 gallons, we can, depending on which garden they're in, as to what size. So, now we fertilize these azaleas 3 times. We'll fertilize them in April and June and July, and then we prune them right after they bloom. And you want to be sure not to prune your azaleas after June. Otherwise, you cut the blooms off for next year. You'll just have a healthy looking green shrub. So,
well, I noticed these are very manicured.
yes, and there are 2 ways to prune the azaleas, like a hedge, which this is done for the parterre effect. And then there's cloud pruning, where you go in with hand pruners and you cut each branch by itself. And what you're trying to do when you cloud prune is open up the middle so sun can get in the middle and you have growth from the middle of the azaleas and not just have sticks coming out of the ground with leaves on top.
I think I have some sticks.
As we proceed into the woodland area next to this garden, it gives us an opportunity to look into the ravines. We have a network throughout the property, and it drains rainwater from the neighborhood through Bayou Bend into the bayou. And of course, we had a terrible erosion problem, but Bob Ross, a previous garden administrator, came up with the idea of recycling driveways that were being torn up. and had the contractors deliver the concrete here, and he and his gardeners built retaining walls all through the property to reinforce the banks of these ravines, and it's just beautiful, and it doesn't look like concrete. It ages, and he turned it upside down. They didn't use the smooth part. So we're very proud of our ravine work and the erosion control that has gone with it.
Hi, Mimi. Hi, Gail. How are you?
This is Ann French, and she is a co-chairman of the BioBend Garden Endowment. And Ann, we've been hearing all about how we maintain the garden, and can you tell us how the endowment fits into that plan?
I can. In 1966, the River Oaks Garden Club and the Museum of Fine Arts Houston met to establish the BioBend Gardens Endowment, dedicated to the maintenance, improvement, and preservation of the gardens. And in 1967, the Garden Club set up the endowment as an independent public trust, with the garden being the sole beneficiary of it. And, you know, throughout the years, from, you know, restoration following the damage from Hurricane Ike, to the effects of the drought, to tree care, to propagation of historically significant horticulture that's no longer available, the endowment has been instrumental in the perpetual care of the gardens. The hands-on maintenance of the Garden Club and generous supporters of the endowment, as well as some of the proceeds from Azalea Trail, help to keep the endowment going and ensure that these gardens will be available for enjoyment for many future generations of visitors.
So we're heading this way. Do we know anything about this?
The bridge, we're crossing the bridge going into White Garden. The bridge was built around 1965, and the aspidistra on both sides is not one of the provisional's favorite spots to be.
I seem to remember
it's fairly thick. And White Garden is named for the white, and of course green, plant material in it. Over here we have two small deer statues with a plaque, also a garden bench over there that Miss Ima placed here in memory of her gardener of 30 years, Alvin Wheeler. And it's just a lovely place to sit and enjoy the scenery.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed your tour this morning of BioBend. What we've shown you is really just a snapshot of what is available to you when you come back, when we hope you come back during Azalea Trail. You'll recall that we started at the Westcott entrance down over here, and we are now headed this way towards the Lazy Lane entrance, where our ribbon cutting ceremony will take place. That will occur on Friday morning of the trail at 10:30, and once that ribbon is cut, Azalea Trail is officially open.
And don't forget, there are 4 private homes that are also on the tour, as well as Rienzi, which is right around the corner, and the Forum of Civics building, which is also the home of the River Oaks Garden Club. So we hope you'll join us on the Azalea Trail.
See you on the trail.